Let's be clear from the beginning. Kindness alone isn't enough to survive in this world. If you think being a good person is all it takes to succeed, you're living in a fantasy, and deep down you know it. You just don't want to admit it. How many times have you felt like others walk all over you? How many times have you done the right thing only to be ignored, or worse, used? You've been taught that being good is enough, that honesty and nobility are always rewarded. But that's not how the world works. The world doesn't reward goodness. It rewards those who know how to play the game. This is where Machiavelli comes in. He understood something most people ignore. Human nature can be selfish, unpredictable, and even cruel when needed in the prince. He made it clear, virtue without cunning is weakness. Kindness without strategy is a trap. So ask yourself, how many times have you fallen into that trap? Think about the people you admire, those who've achieved great things. Do you really believe they got there on good intentions alone? They got there because they knew how to move. In the shadows, when necessary, they understood. Morality isn't an obstacle, it's a tool. The difference between a player and a pawn is knowing when to use it and when to hide it. The issue isn't that you're good. The issue is you don't know how to protect that goodness. You think everyone's playing by the same rules. They're not. The world is full of predators disguised as friends, opportunists who can smell naivety from a mile away, and without knowing it, you've become the perfect target. This is where Machiavelli offers you an alternative: intelligent kindness. It's not about becoming a villain. It's not about betraying your principles. It's about pairing your kindness with a sharp understanding of reality. It's learning to read people, to see their intentions before they show them, to know when to trust and when to stay guarded. Machiavelli said, it's better to be feared than loved if you can't be both. And you probably chose to be loved, to be accepted, to seem harmless, but what has that really earned you? Not respect, not power. What you've gained is the knowledge, often too late, that others can use you without consequence. Because kindness without strength doesn't inspire admiration, it invites pity. Don't get it twisted. This isn't a call to abandon your values. It's a call to stop being naive, to realize the world doesn't reward the just, it rewards the sharp. True virtue isn't about submission, it's about knowing how to balance ethics with realism. Maggie taught that image is everything. It's not just who you are, it's how others perceive you. If you seem weak, you'll be treated that way, but if you project strength, you'll earn respect. So how many times have you stayed quiet just to keep the peace? How often have you tolerated disrespect, afraid of losing approval, and what did it get you? This isn't about cruelty, it's about strategy. It's about knowing when to speak, when to wait, when to push, and when to walk away. Kindness, when used wisely, is a strength, but if left unchecked, it becomes your downfall. So many good people think the world values purity of heart. It doesn't. The world values stability, power, the courage to make difficult choices. Kindness is only respected when it's backed by authority. Without power, your kindness is overlooked. Machiavelli wouldn't tell you to be a lamb in a world of wolves. He'd tell you not to let your morality enslave you. True virtue is intelligence, not blind submission. It's not about bending to the world, but shaping it to fit you. So think about it. How much longer will you let the world step on you? How much longer will you be the victim of your own idealism? This isn't about changing who you are. It's about being who you are in a way that protects and benefits you. Learn to move smart. Know when to smile and when to bare your teeth. The world isn't fair, but you can learn to play by its rules and still remain true to yourself. Machiavelli didn't write The Prince to make you evil. He wrote it to teach you how to survive. So now the question is, are you going to keep living in the illusion that kindness is enough? Or are you ready to apply true intelligence? And here's a concept. Most people don't get the perception of power. It's not enough to be strong. You have to look strong. It's not enough to be smart. You have to project it. Because in this world, perception matters more than truth. If you think about this, how many times have you seen an incompetent person go farther than a talented one? How many times have you seen a manipulator rise, while a noble and hard-working person remains stuck? This is no accident. People don't follow the good or the just. They follow the one who seems to be in control, the one who knows how to manage their image, the one who projects authority, the one who, even though they don't have all the answers, acts as if they do. And this is where many fail. They believe that the truth by itself is enough, that true competence will speak for them. But the world doesn't work that way. The world doesn't reward those who are right. It rewards those who know how to sell their version of the story. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. It's not just about what you are, but about what others believe you to be. Perception is everything. An insecure leader doesn't inspire confidence, even if they're the most prepared. A worker who doesn't know how to make themselves noticed will never be promoted, even if they're the best. A man or woman who doesn't project value will never be desired, even if they have a lot to offer. That's why the key is not just in being, but in mastering the narrative about yourself, learning to control your image to create the right impression in every situation. It's not about deceiving, it's about directing the attention of others to what you want them to see. Think about this in any social interaction. People don't perceive reality as it is. They perceive it through filters of assumptions, prejudices, and emotions. And the question is, are you letting those filters play against you, or are you using them to your advantage? If you're good but seem weak, they will treat you as weak. If you're just but seem soft, they will trample on you. If you're talented but seem insecure, you will be ignored. It's that simple. The art of perception is what separates those who control their destiny from those who are controlled by others. And here we enter a darker but necessary area, the control of information. Have you ever wondered why the most powerful always seem to know something that others don't? Why do those who dominate the game always seem to have an advantage? The answer is simple: because they know when to speak and when to stay silent. Naive people believe that absolute honesty is a virtue, that always saying what they think and sharing everything they know is the right thing to do. But in reality, information is power, and you can't give away power without consequences. Machiavelli said that a prince must know how to hide their true intentions, not because they should be a liar, but because in a world where everyone seeks an advantage, the one who reveals too much becomes vulnerable. Learn to control what you share, to say only what's necessary and nothing more, to maintain a certain mystery, to make people wonder what you really think, because the moment you become completely predictable, The moment others can anticipate every move you make, you lose any strategic advantage. You might have had the greatest players in history, in politics, business, art, or any failed. Understood, this strategic silence is as powerful as speech. Think of someone you admire, someone with real influence out there, someone who says everything, who exposes themselves completely, or someone who always leaves something in the shadows, who always has a hidden card. The problem with many is that they confuse transparency with weakness. They believe that if they don't reveal everything, they are being dishonest. But it's not about lying. It's about controlling the flow of information to your advantage. Think about this. How many times have you spoken too much and it has hurt you? How many times have you trusted the wrong person and person revealing something that later turned against you? How many times have you given explanations that no one asked for, just to justify yourself to people who didn't even deserve it? Power is not in speaking more. Power is in knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. And here comes the big lesson that almost nobody applies. The one who speaks the least, the one who explains the least, is the one who commands the most respect. Why? Because silence creates uncertainty. Uncertainty creates curiosity, and curiosity gives power. If you always say what you think without a filter, people will lose interest. If you always explain your actions, people will assume you need to justify yourself. But when you only speak when necessary, when you choose your words carefully, when you leave room for interpretation, people will start paying attention to you for real. And here comes another fundamental concept: the art of unpredictability. Predictable people are easy to manipulate. If you always act the same way, if you're always predictable in your responses, emotions, and decisions, others will be able to anticipate you. When people can predict you, they can use you. But when you're unpredictable, when no one's quite sure what your next move will be, you become dangerous. And when you're dangerous, people respect you. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. A leader who's easy to read is a weak leader, but one who keeps a layer of mystery, who shifts when needed, who refuses to be boxed in. That's the kind of leader who holds power. So the real question is, do you want to keep being an open book, easy to read, easy to manipulate, or are you ready to become a strategist, someone who controls their image, their information, and their unpredictability for their own advantage? Because kindness without strategy, that's an open invitation to be devoured. The world won't bend its rules for you, so stop playing by imaginary rules. Learn how the game really works, and if you play it well, if you apply what actually works, you'll stop being a victim of the system and start becoming someone who shapes it. And now comes one of the most misunderstood concepts of all: strategic distance. A lot of people think power comes from always being present, from always being seen, always being available. But the truth is the opposite. The more available you are, the less valuable you become. Scarcity creates desire, absence creates impact. Why do some people command respect just by walking into a room while others go unnoticed, no matter how hard they try? The answer lies in perception, in how rare their presence feels. Machiavelli warned against being too accessible, not because a leader should look down on others, but because too much familiarity destroys respect. When you're always there, always giving, people stop valuing your presence, your generosity, your time, your effort. It becomes expected, taken for granted. And this doesn't just apply to politics, it applies to relationships, to work, to life. Give too much and you become replaceable. Be too available and you're not seen as a person of value, just a resource. Think about it. How many times have you gone above and beyond for someone only to be ignored? When you needed something, how often have you shown up again and again only to be taken for granted? It's not a coincidence. It's human nature. What's abundant is overlooked. What's scarce is prized. So start managing your presence. Control how often people hear from you. Don't always be the first to reply. Don't always make yourself reachable. Let people feel your absence. Let your presence carry weight. When you disappear at the right moment, when you step back intentionally, people begin to seek you out. The problem is most people are afraid of disappearing. They're afraid that if they step back, they'll be forgotten. But here's the truth. If the only way you're remembered is by constantly being around, then you were never that valuable to begin with. The ones who make an impact aren't the loudest. They're the ones who master silence, who know when to step in and when to vanish. Look at any powerful figure in history. The true players don't show up to every battle. They conserve their energy. They pick their moments, and when they speak, when they act, the world listens, which brings us to another crucial tool of power, emotional control. This is where most people lose the game. People think control means aggression, being loud, being forceful, raising your voice, pounding your fist, but true power, true mastery, it's the ability to stay calm in the storm. Machiavelli knew this better than anyone. The one who can't control their emotions will never control outcomes. The person who snaps, who reacts in anger, who's driven by fear or insecurity, that person is easy to read, easy to manipulate, easy to defeat. Think about the last time you lost your cool, the moment you got angry or panicked. Who had the power, not you? It was the person who triggered that reaction, the one who threw you off balance, because the one who controls your emotions controls you. And here's the key. The person who can't be provoked, who stays centered no matter what's thrown at them, that is the person with real power. It doesn't matter if it's a debate, a negotiation, an argument, or any social situation. The one who keeps their emotional control wins, because the one who manages their emotions manages how others perceive them. Machiavelli made it clear, a wise person must act with coldness and calculation. That doesn't mean not feeling. It means not being ruled by feelings. It's about refusing to be a puppet, pulled by anger or anxiety. If you can master this, if you can hold your center when everyone else is losing theirs, you become untouchable. Others might try to get under your skin. They'll test you, push you, provoke you. But if they can't shake your center, if they can't predict your reaction, they lose all control. Here's the truth. The ones who truly control the game aren't the loudest or the strongest. They're the ones who stay calm while everyone else loses their minds. And that brings us to the final key, strategic patience. Most people want everything now. Success now, respect now, power now. But what Machiavelli and every great strategist in history understood is that real power doesn't come from rushing it, comes from waiting for the perfect moment. The world is full of people who act on impulse, who make fast decisions without thinking long term. But the ones who truly hold power, they wait, they watch, they calculate. Think of a hunter. They don't shoot at the first sound. They study, they measure. They wait until the prey is exactly where it needs to be. Then they strike. That's how power works. It's not about being the first to move. It's about moving at the right moment. Machiavelli said, "Fortune favors those who adapt." It's not about constantly pushing. It's about knowing when to step forward, and when to hold back. The average person acts out of urgency. The strategist acts out of timing. So now ask yourself, are you someone who rushes in without thinking, or someone who waits, watches, and strikes with precision? Because in this world, power doesn't belong to the fastest, it belongs to the smartest, to those who control perception, manage information, use distance, master emotional control, and above all, practice strategic patience. Apply all of that, and you won't just survive the game, you'll start playing it like a true master. Yes, the world is ruthless, but once you understand how it works, you can play by its rules and win. But there's still one thing that separates those who simply survive from those who shape their destiny: the ability to become an anomaly in the system. Now you know the truth. You understand that kindness alone isn't enough, that perception is power, that silence can be a weapon, that patience can be your edge, that scarcity increases your worth. But what's the point of all that if you keep behaving like everyone else? If you want different results, you have to stop following the script, not just for the sake of rebellion, but to rewrite the script in your favor. Most people live inside invisible limits. They think the way they were taught. To think they move predictably. They act exactly how the system expects them to act. But the ones who really leave a mark, the ones who bend the game, they are the ones who become unpredictable, who make their own rules, who do what no one sees coming. Because here's the harsh truth: the system is built to devour those who conform. If you act like everyone else, you'll get what everyone else gets: mediocrity, obscurity. The only way to win is to become the exception, the one who acts differently, who thinks differently, who can't be boxed in. Be the person whose presence carries weight, whose words aren't thrown around, but land like punches. Once you understand this, once you apply this, everything shifts. You'll realize you were never truly weak. You were just playing the wrong game. You weren't ignored because you lacked value. You were ignored because you didn't know how to project it. But now you do, and that's dangerous, because the moment you start applying this, there's no going back. The moment you begin managing your image, controlling your presence, holding back your reactions, and speaking only when it matters, the world starts reacting differently. The people who once dismissed you start paying attention. The ones who used to underestimate you begin to wonder what changed. The ones who once tried to manipulate you, they start hesitating because you're no longer predictable. You're no longer powerless now. You're someone who understands the game board, and you move like someone who owns it. And now, the most important decision of all: are you going to apply this? Or are you going to let it sit in your mind as just another idea? Because the difference between those who rise and those who stay stuck, it's not what they know, it's what they do. The choice is yours. Others might try to get under your skin. They'll test you, provoke you, but if they can't shake your center, if they can't predict your reaction, they lose all control. Here's the truth: the ones who truly run the game aren't the loudest or the strongest. They're the ones who stay calm while everyone else loses their heads. And that leads us to the final principle: strategic patience. Most people want everything right now. Success now, recognition now, power now. But what Machiavelli and every great strategist throughout history understood is this: real power doesn't belong to those who rush it, belongs to those who wait for the perfect moment. The world is full of impulsive people, constantly reacting, constantly chasing. But the ones who actually control the board, they watch, they wait, they strike with precision. Think of a hunter. They don't shoot at the first sound, they observe. They measure, and only when the prey is in the exact right position, then they strike. That's how true influence works. It's not about making the first move, it's about making the right move. Machiavelli said, "Fortune favors those who know how to adapt." It's not about endless motion, it's about knowing when to accelerate and when to pause. The average person reacts. The strategist waits. So I'll ask you again, are you acting on impulse or with intention? Because in this world, power doesn't go to the fastest, it goes to the smartest, to those who master perception, information, distance, emotional control, and timing. Apply this, and you won't just survive, you'll dominate. But even that isn't the final step. What separates the ones who just get by from the ones who leave a legacy is the courage to become an anomaly. You now know the truth. Kindness alone isn't enough. Perception is power. Silence is a weapon. Scarcity increases value. Patience beats impulsiveness. But none of that matters if you keep playing by the same rules as everyone else. The system is designed to consume those who conform, do what everyone else does, and you'll get the same forgettable results. If you want to win, you must be the exception, be the one who breaks the mold, the one they can't predict, the one who shows up different, sharp, and impossible to ignore. And when you start moving like that, everything changes. You realize you weren't weak, you just didn't have the right strategy, you weren't invisible, you just hadn't learned how to project your value. But now, you know, and once you apply this, there is no going back. People will treat you differently, speak to you differently, think twice before trying to play you, because now you're not just in the game, you understand it. And here's the final step. Comment below, tell me how this hit you. Share what part you're going to apply first. I'm reading every single one, and I will reply to everyone. This isn't just a monologue, it's a conversation. Let's start it.